Ohtani's back, Sasaki just broke through, and the Dodgers embarrassed the Angels by a combined score of 31-3 in Anaheim this weekend. Perfect timing right before their first Padres series of the year.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Harry Ruiz, that's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, the Edwin Diaz controversy and why this has become something the Dodgers and Major League Baseball can't just ignore. We'll get into the latest rotation concerns after another injury blow and what the Dodgers can realistically do next. But first, Travis, we're breaking down a freeway series sweep that reminded everyone exactly how dangerous this team can look when things click, including Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, Ohtani was really good this week. That time off seemed to really kind of get him back locked in. Can't wait to talk about it. And Roki, who was great today, too. On today's episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets when your first bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com to get started.
Ohtani erupts. Sasaki breaks through. Los Angeles dominates Anaheim. The Dodgers needed a weekend like this. They whooped that trick, not because anyone thought this season was slipping away, not because 3 games in May suddenly define anything, but because baseball has a way of wearing on even the best teams. And over the last couple of weeks, there had been enough uneven performances to create some noise. Then they got to Anaheim and absolutely flattened the Angels, a 10-1 win on Sunday, a 3-game sweep by a combined score of 31-3. That's complete control from start to finish. And in my opinion, it starts with Shohei Ohtani. This looked like a completely different hitter from the one we had seen grinding through that rough patch earlier this month. Over these 3 games, 6 for 13, a .461 batting average, 7 runs batted in, 2 doubles, a triple/little league home run, 3 walks, and a stolen base. But honestly, Travis, the box score only tells part of the story. What stood out was how much calmer everything looked for him.
Yeah, I thought you could really see it in his final at-bat on Sunday. I thought the ball that he kind of hit towards left field, it was hit very, very hard. It was just a single, but that's a pitch that he's been flying off of for, really kind of sort of all season. That this is something that he clearly is seeing the ball better. He's getting it get a little deeper. He's far more patient at the plate. Now, the batting average is great. Nearly hitting 500 in a series is incredibly impressive. But I think when you're going to really know when he's locked in is when he's starting able to elevate that ball a little bit. He's going to start hitting some more home runs because, like you mentioned, there was a triple in there. There was a couple of doubles as well. But we all know that when Shohei is really locked in, he starts hitting a bunch of homers, and that still hasn't come yet. It feels like it's really close. It doesn't feel like it's very far off at all. But, I think what's interesting is, did it have anything to do with the time off? And I guess only he could really give you a good answer on that, because if the answer was time off helped him, you wonder if he doesn't get a little more time off moving forward. Like he just almost never just gets a full night off like he did in that finale against the Giants series, but it certainly seemed to put him in a really good space. And we're going to get to see him pitch in San Diego coming up in a few days. So it's a good time to see Shohei really start to play his best again.
Yeah, back-to-back games where he wasn't in the Dodgers lineup ahead of this freeway series against his former team, the Angels. Then we already have Dave Roberts switching the rotation, having Emmett Sheehan scheduled for Tuesday after Yoshinobu Yamamoto on Monday, to then have Shohei on Wednesday before a day off on Thursday. That tells you part of the story right now, where it's like, okay, they're starting to understand how to manage a Shohei Ohtani, who from the beginning of the season is available as a pitcher to be stretched out for 7 innings. It's okay. It's not the same thing as last year, where you had him pitching for an inning and then batting the rest of the way. 3 innings, 5 innings, building him up. Now it's a different way that you have to manage him. And earlier this month, there were stretches, Travis, where Ohtani looked caught between timing and aggression. His lower half looked rushed. His setup looked like he was trying to manufacture something instead of just letting his natural rhythm take over. But this weekend, that was gone. And I understand, right? A lot of people are going to say, well, they were only playing the Angels. This same Angels team beat them 6 times out of 6 in the regular season last year. But right now, his base looks stronger. His movements looked quieter. He stayed through the baseball, and he looked balanced and decisive. I mean, that triple on Saturday, that just shows you the determination he has of just going through the play. When a lot of players just see that ball go off of the net, they stop. They're like, okay, grand rule double. Shohei kept on going. The ball is in the infield. He keeps on running all the way to home, and that's crazy, Travis, what they have in Anaheim, where the ball hits the net in that part. I mean, for starters, the net is almost all the way to the foul pole, which I think is kind of crazy, but it's still in play. Even their own players, their own broadcasters didn't know the rule.
Yeah, it was weird. I think, give Shohei a lot of credit for just keep running. All they can do is send you back, right? I mean, there's no disadvantage to being aggressive in that situation. I thought there were a few plays through the series over the weekend where the Dodgers showed, the aggression, the hustle, the little things that can make a difference. Again, to kind of go back to the game on Sunday, there was a blowout, but you saw Andy Pages get down the line in the 9th inning on a ball that he absolutely did not have to bust it, right? Pages having a great season. He could have, they got a huge lead. You could have pulled the parachute and just kind of cruise down there and go out there and win the game. Instead, he busted it. You got to see them score a few more runs. You got to see Ha-Seong Kim make a hustle play earlier in the game as well. And this is a very good sign for a team that, look, we know they got better players than most of the other teams in the major leagues. We know that they've got incredible pitching, but when they start to grind it out, when they start to hustle, when they start to do all those little things, that's when baseball, all that weird stuff that pops up sometimes gets a little bit lessened because everybody's just doing the best that they can and doing all the little things right. So it looks like they found their footing. And yeah, look, the Angels are lousy. Everybody knows that. The Giants are lousy. Everybody knows that. But that's what you're supposed to do when you play a team that's not very good. You put together a little 5-game winning streak. You start to get a little confidence. I know we're going to talk about Sasaki here in a little bit, but I mentioned this about him going down to the minor leagues. Like sometimes just having some success breeds confidence, and then confidence breeds more success regardless of what the opponent is. And I think this is a really good sign for the Dodgers that even though they've kind of been spinning their wheels for a while, it looked like it finally clicked in and they're ready to go.
Yeah, and now they're in a 5-game winning streak. But they were coming off of a 4-game losing streak, including losing the first 2 against a very bad San Francisco Giants team. You just can't take anything for granted. I wanted them to just play at their level and not down to the Angels level, and they did just that. You mentioned Ha-Seong Kim. That play in the 4th inning, I think, was crucial in this game because there were 2 outs. It was a ground out to the first baseman, but his speed alone made him get to first base and turn what would have been an inning-ending ground out to first into bases loaded with 2 outs for Shohei Ohtani, who then ends up bringing 2 men home. And with that, a 2-0 lead becomes a 4-0 lead. And I mean, in a day where Roki Sasaki pitched the way that he did, 2 runs would have been enough. But let's go into Roki Sasaki because, Travis, we've been talking about how he has been going from really bad to okay, he's taking some steps forward. But this right here, we've talked about, well, it's been better than what he did before. Right now, Sunday's game, that felt like a real step, not hype, not projection, not you can see flashes, an actual tangible step. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, and your favorite part, Travis Rodgers. I was watching this game, and I knew you would love it. 0 walks. For the first time in his major league career, in one of his starts, he didn't walk a single batter. That last part matters a lot.
The best part. It's unquestionably, in my opinion, the best part of his outing is that he didn't walk anybody, and he was terrific. I think that I heard Oral say it during the broadcast, and I share that opinion that it was the best outing that Roki Sasaki has had as a major leaguer. I don't think there's a close second. It was a very, very impressive outing by a guy that could use one, right? And coming out of spring training, he was bad. At the early part of the regular season, he was bad, and then he was slightly less bad. I don't think I would say that he was good, but he was a little less bad. And then we've kind of strayed into, that was okay. And now we saw a legitimate, really, really good outing. Now, the challenge, of course, like for anybody, but in athletes in particular, pitchers in particular, starting pitchers in particular, is can you stack a bunch of these together? Can you be the guy that gives you 5, 6, in this case, 7 innings of a really effective baseball, or was this just a one-off where a guy had a great time, a great day. He had a great day. Can you have another one? Can you have another one after that? I think that's the challenge for him. But he was terrific. He was absolutely fantastic. And like you mentioned a minute ago, I don't care if it's against the Angels, who are the worst team in baseball. It's a major league team, and he went out there and he was electric for 7 innings, and most importantly, a big fat 0 in the walk column. Good job.
That right there is the most important part, because for all of Sasaki's incredible raw stuff, command has been the thing that is separating flashes of brilliance from full-on outings. It was going from, okay, he did great in the first 2 innings, but after the second inning, he just starts a downfall, and then you got to go to the bullpen. On Sunday, for the first time in his career in the big league since last year, he goes 7 innings. He has his big league high 8 strikeouts in the single game. He had that control, and that's what ends up becoming his best start. I love it. It was great to see. Now, can he be consistent? That's the part that you talked about, Travis. I remember us talking about Dodgers Mets, April 13th. Justin Robleski, he goes 8 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs. And we were like, that's great. Now, can he sustain that type of success? And over his next 5 starts, he has looked really, really good. Hopefully, we can talk about the same situation here with Roki Sasaki, which was a fantastic way to close the series in Anaheim. That way you put a bow on it and be like, perfect. It was complete domination, including the question mark you have in the rotation, or had, if he ends up going in the right direction from here on out.
Yeah, he was really good, and I like the Robleski comparison. I think that Robleski followed it with another good one, and then another good one, and then another good one. And we've gotten to the point now where you kind of expect him to be a guy that can pitch his team into the 6th inning, if not further than that. And you kind of have an expectation for Robleski that is changed for the better. And this is the challenge for Sasaki moving forward. But look, this is the major leagues. If you're in the major leagues, clearly you have the stuff to get guys out in the big leagues, right? They just the raw stuff. And sometimes you're just on and you get guys out because your stuff's really good. That's not the same thing as being a good pitcher. This is what they're working on. This is what they're trying to figure out. Did he have a really good day because his stuff was on and he was in the strike zone? Or is he becoming a good pitcher? And we'll get more data points as we go deeper into the season. But certainly a great step in the right direction. And you can see it on his face too. Like Roki does not hide his emotions particularly well. He was feeling good about it, and he should. He was very, very good.
He was able to take me out to the ball game on the mound. That made him happy. Definitely. Right. It made us happy as well. We want to hear from you checking out our show, which, by the way, 2nd Sunday in a row, we're premiering at night. Last time y'all liked it. Hopefully you like it as well. After what you saw this weekend, do you think Shohei is fully back? And do you believe this was a breakthrough that starts to change everything for Roki Sasaki? Drop your take in the comments, or let us know on any of our social networks, or hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 2793-LOCKED. I want to hear where you stand. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers sweep the Angels and somehow still leave the weekend with even more rotation questions. We'll get into Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and whether help is actually on the way.
The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has an incredible offer that's going to help you get started, because right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. You heard me right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. And there's a lot of great reasons to use FanDuel during the playoffs, because everything you need is right in one place. You can check stats, trends, matchups before you make any of your picks, which makes the entire experience feel a lot more informed. So whether you're looking at player props, which are a ton of fun, maybe you're just looking for your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to each and every game. It's a very easy app to navigate, and it makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. We're getting close, man. We are into the conference finals, so you got to get in while the getting is good. So head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic taste that you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always loved cotton candy, but I can't be eating sweets all day. This right here is a perfect alternative. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. Bring on the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots. Available online now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with me and other listeners of this show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com. Another rotation blow. How much longer can the Dodgers patch this thing together? Just when it looked like maybe the Dodgers were stabilizing it, Blake Snell returns. Tyler Glasnow might not be missing a lot of time. Well, Blake Snell had one start, and then on Friday, he got scratched the day of his second start, and he's heading for elbow surgery to remove loose bodies. The expectation is that he returns this season. That's the good news. The bad news, nobody really knows when. And when you pair that with Tyler Glasnow already sidelined with lower back spasms, suddenly the Dodgers, they're not as strong in the rotation as they were when the season started. Travis, we're in the same spot that we were in 2025 this early in the season.
Yeah, and throw Jack Dreyer going on the IL as well today, and they make a trade for Eric Lauer coming over from Toronto. So we'll see maybe if Lauer gets some starts to fill in for Glasnow, to fill in for Snell. That looks like it's going to be what they do going forward. But yeah, look, I put the Glasnow and the Snell things in slightly different categories. I think the Snell thing is a very, very big deal. Look, let's just put the cards on the table. He's been here for 2 seasons. He barely pitched. Right now, he pitched in the World Series, and he was darn good when they needed him. So he's certainly earned his money last season. But he showed up last year and was on the IL right away and missed most of the season until he got back. This year, he started in spring training with being a ways away with the tired arm, all that. He comes back one start and not very good, and he's right back down with another injury, the loose bodies like you mentioned, the surgery like you mentioned. I think that he has to be an enormous question mark at this point for the rest of the season. If you get him, great. You'd love to have him back. He's an incredibly talented guy, but I just don't know if you can really feel great about the prospects having him back. Glasnow's a little bit. This is just what Glasnow does. This is just him missing time, and doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal. It doesn't sound like it's something that's going to keep him down for months and months like the Snell injury might. But yeah, you can only take so many pieces out of the Jenga stack before stuff starts to wobble a little bit. And they took 2 pretty important pieces out of it. Now they got plenty more to slide back in there, and we'll see how it goes. But kind of a rough couple of weeks for the Dodgers starting pitching and the injury bug.
And here's the key. With Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the rotation, this is a team built to run a 6-man rotation. Yeah. It's not your regular 5 days rest that your pitchers are used to. No, you got Shohei and Yoshi, who they're used to having 6, or even in the case of Shohei, almost a full week between starts. Right now, they're basically improvising. They already used the bullpen game on Friday. It worked beautifully against a very weak Angels lineup, getting a shutout, but that's not something you can just spam for weeks and expect your bullpen can survive. The calendar, it gets ugly fast. They can manage the next Thursday's off day. Then they have another one on the 28th as well. And they got 3 days off in June. But there's always those brutal stretches where you have pretty much 2 weeks in a row. But after the off day on Thursday, 19 games in 20 days. That's where this becomes very real, because if Glasnow isn't back by then, somebody else has to give you legitimate innings.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Kyle Hurt maybe get a shot at this. He's been pitching really well. We know that he kind of had a starting pitching, aspiration when he got started here. I think the most important thing, and kind of circle back to Roki for half a second here, is the ability of the starters to make sure that they're eating up a lot of these innings. Because if you do have guys that are going 6 and 7 innings on a regular basis, and it looks like Yamamoto and Ohtani and Robleski are certainly kind of checking that box. Sheehan a little bit more of a question mark. Sasaki more of a question mark. But if you can get some guys deep into the game like Sasaki did for him today, you can lean on that bullpen once a week. You can lean on that bullpen to cover some innings for you because you're maybe a man short here or there. But if all of a sudden your starters are throwing out a 4-piece or a 5-inning start, once in a while. Now all of a sudden that bullpen, it might not have been a scheduled bullpen day, but it's a quasi bullpen day. That gets very expensive very quickly. So hopefully Glasnow's back soon. I wouldn't be surprised to see some guys elevated. Like I mentioned, Lauer from the Blue Jays, he's coming over. So I think you're probably going to see him for no other reason. He's a warm body that you can throw out there. And again, he's had some success in the major leagues too. So we'll see, but we know how they're going to play this. They're going to take all the time in the world to try to get their guys ready for somewhere around the 1st of September, stretch them out, get them ready for October, and then throw your best punches at that point.
Another intriguing option is River Ryan, right? River Ryan, but let's be realistic. He's coming off of Tommy John, and he just returned from a hamstring issue, having his first start at AAA OKC. The Dodgers are not going to rush him unless they absolutely have to, which is why the Eric Lauer move that you just brought up matters. This isn't a blockbuster fix. Nobody should pretend otherwise. Lauer, he had a rough run in Toronto. The numbers are ugly, but this isn't about upside. It's about who can consume innings. It's about protection. It's about having someone who can give you length if this thing gets stretched too thin. And that matters right now. And honestly, this has become part of the Dodgers' yearly identity. Every season, we talk about how deep the pitching staff looks, and then an injury hit. Then you got to piece together solutions.
It's like no one will ever say this out loud. The Dodgers don't care if they win 90 games or 110 games. They just don't care, right? As long as they get into the postseason is the only thing that they care about, and that they're healthy there. So I'm with you. The idea of trying to accelerate the return for these guys is never going to happen, because they're second tier guys, and they still got a lot of front tier guys too. Let's not get too, for Yamamoto and Ohtani are pretty good 1-2 punch under the circumstances, but they're gonna win enough to get into the postseason, and then I think we're gonna see most of those guys back. But this, they're okay going through a month just kind of trying to figure it out with guys like Lauer. We saw Chase McDermott pitch for the first time for the Dodgers today. Like, they will just throw anybody and everybody that they need to do to get through games while they can get through some games, and then when it's go time, they'll have their guys.
And it's easier when you're whooping the Angels, compared to a close game in San Diego where the environment is completely different than Anaheim. Let's see what it looks like this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday when the Dodgers take on the Padres pretty much until 2 months after the regular season kicked off. All right, I want your take. If you were running this team, would you trust internal options to survive this rotation crunch, or would you already be looking outside the organization for help? Let me know, dropping your answer in the comments, or hit me up on social media at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, or on TikTok at Harry Ruiz_. Travis, he's available on X and IG at Travis Rodgers. Next on Locked On Dodgers, Edwin Diaz is making headlines for reasons that have nothing to do with baseball, and this story raises questions the Dodgers can't avoid answering forever.
ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why HIMS offers a straightforward way to handle it. HIMS connects you with a licensed healthcare provider online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of your health, or of yourself, I should say. The entire process is very simple. You just complete a quick online intake, and a provider reviews your information. If treatment is right for you, it ships directly to your door in discreet packaging, which makes the whole experience feel private and stress-free. They also offer options like sildenafil, the generic for Viagra, at a fraction of the cost, plus other treatments so you can find out what works best for you. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb.
Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. The Edwin Diaz controversy puts the Dodgers in an awkward spot. This is one of those stories where the baseball part becomes secondary. Edwin Diaz, he's injured. He's not pitching right now. Normally, he'd barely be a part of the daily conversation. Instead, right now, he's become a major headline because of reports and public promotional materials linking him to cockfighting events in Puerto Rico. And let's be clear, this isn't internet speculation built on anonymous rumors. There are public posts, event promotions, historical photos, and years of visible connections that are now being heavily scrutinized. That's why this matters, Travis, because whether Diaz intended this to become a national story or not, it is now. And once something reaches this level of visibility, Major League Baseball notices, the Dodgers notice, everyone notices. There's a big layer here. Cockfighting has long cultural roots in Puerto Rico and parts of Latin America. That concept exists. It's real, but it also exists alongside federal law and animal cruelty concerns that make this an extremely serious issue in the United States. And Puerto Rico is a part of the U.S.
Yeah, it is. And he's got some legal problems that he's going to have to get squared away one way or the other. We'll see how it all plays out. But I think what's most interesting, I think people know I do Locked On Rams as well as Locked On Dodgers. And Doug and I on Locked On Rams, we talk about this a lot with the LA Rams, is that the Rams are a pretty quiet team, and I mean that in the best possible way. They don't have a lot of noisy guys. They don't have a lot of guys that make you go, wait, what happened? And that's why when Puka was finding himself in some weird situations, it was really noticeable because A, Puka's a really good player, and B, it's like the Rams just don't have stuff like that very often. I think it's pretty similar with the Dodgers too. Like the Dodgers just don't have a lot of noisy guys, right? They just, I think, going back to when they signed Trevor Bauer, it was a little bit like, oh, that's kind of not Dodger-like because Trevor Bauer's kind of a noisy guy. There's a lot of chatter about him off the baseball field, and they did it anyway. And then we all know how that played itself out. But I think the Diaz thing is really interesting because this is their first kind of embarrassing, tricky, really unsavory, however you want to kind of describe it, moment with a guy who's only been here for a second. It's not like he's got a bunch of deep roots with the team or deep roots with the fans who are going to be like willing to give him, the benefit of the doubt like they might be to somebody that's been here a little bit longer. But I think this thing will happen relatively quickly, and I'm sure the Dodgers will try to get it in the rearview mirror as quickly as possible because the very last thing they want to talk, and I think it helps, oddly enough, Harry, that Diaz is not healthy, that Diaz is not pitching. So every time he comes into the game, you don't have to readdress the fact that he's dealing with a legal issue. It's just he can go deal with his legal issue and deal with that exclusively and not have to worry about pitching because he's recovering from an injury.
Yeah, and understanding cultural history doesn't erase legal or ethical scrutiny. I posted a short about it after the USA Today article was published, and there were people in the comments section. It did pretty good numbers because it got people's interest, but there were people saying, oh, it's a nothing burger. It doesn't matter. It's legal over there. It's like, no, it's not. It's part of the United States. It's illegal in the US. It's illegal down there too. And that's where this gets complicated for everybody involved because for the Dodgers, this is mostly about optics right now. They signed Diaz to a major bullpen piece. Instead, he's injured and now attached to controversy that pulls attention in the worst possible direction. For the big leagues, the pressure is whether this becomes something requiring formal review. And for Diaz, eventually there will need to be direct answers because right now silence usually doesn't make stories like this disappear. And from a baseball perspective, it's another unwanted distraction for a team already juggling enough rotation instability, injury uncertainty. And now you start talking about this. I don't think it's just going to go away like the Dodgers and Major League Baseball wish it would happen. It's going to be there. And it's going to be a situation where he even got interviewed by a newspaper in Puerto Rico about it, and he brought up about one of his fighters in the cockfighting ring. And it's like, hey, I saw that attitude like when I would come out of the bullpen, this and that. I'm like, I don't think that's something that you want to publicize. And I went through the Facebook posts, and there were pictures of him in a Dodgers Photoshop jersey of him in February. And it's like, hey, meet and greet with Edwin Diaz after the fights and Edwin Diaz doing interviews and then results of the fights and having his name out there. I don't think this is something that should be connected with the team. And let's see what ends up happening. I mean, I want Edwin Diaz in the Dodgers, but it's also something where you got to put two and two together. And it's like, this ain't right.
Yeah, like I said a second ago, I think the fact that he's not playing works to his advantage. I think that he's not in, we don't have to see him 3 times a week. You don't see him 4 times a week. You don't have to, opposing fans don't have to, see him several times a week. So I think that's to his advantage. But you're right. The quote that made its way through the internet was like, oh boy, that's not a good look. But sometimes this stuff does go away a little more quickly than you might think. So I don't know. I'm not going to stick my neck too far. I hope it goes away quickly. I hope that he does whatever he needs to do to kind of get out of the cockfighting game. That seems like a crazy thing to say, but when you cultural, norms aside, if you're going to take all this money from a big corporation like the Dodgers and you're in violation of laws, they're going to be able to say, hey, bro, get your what together. Let's get this sorted out, because the last thing the Dodgers want is PETA or some other animal rights organization, picketing outside of Dodger Stadium. They don't need that. So thankfully he's not pitching right now. Hopefully they can deal with this with some sort of low wattage publicity. But like you said, who knows, right? Sometimes this stuff has crazy long legs and lasts a long time. And hopefully this is not one of those times.
And there were people in the comment section saying, oh, he was doing this while he was with the Mets. Well, he signed with the Dodgers in mid-December, and he was still doing it in February, according to those Facebook posts. I went through the whole Facebook page of that organization, and I'm like, man, he kept on doing it. I think there would be a moment where you're like, I shouldn't be aligned with this type of situation. I shouldn't be associated with them. 3 years, $69 million contract with the Dodgers, and he still kept doing that. I feel like it's just something where it's like he gets that rush out of that instead of playing baseball, and he just likes both, and he kept on doing both.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know why anybody would like that. I guess he does. I don't know, man. He's got to get it cleaned up. I don't know who he writes checks to. I don't know which lawyers he hires, but he needs to go on a PR campaign to make sure that this is the last time that this is a subject that he has to deal with, because, you're not turning anybody around on their opinion on something like this, right? That people are going to see this and be really, really turned off by the whole thing. So he's got some work to do, and thankfully he's got the time to do it because he's not pitching.
Hey, how long did it take Mike Vick to finally get back into a good limelight and be taken into Fox as an analyst instead of just being in prison and disappear for a while, and then football fans being like, okay, we're cool with you now?
For Edwin Diaz's sake, and I'm not making light of any of this, I'm not making a joke here, but people feel very differently about dogs than they do chickens. So the Vic thing, because it was dogs, I think was going to be far worse than anything Diaz is going to deal with, because of the animals that we're talking about. But yeah, it's I guarantee you somebody inside the Dodger organization, they said, seriously, we got to deal with a cockfighting story with one of our players. Like, really? We got to do that? And yeah, you got to do that. You got to get that cleaned up.
I wasn't expecting to talk about cockfighting on Locked On Dodgers in the year 2026, but here we are. And eventually we'll find out whether this becomes a brief, uncomfortable headline or something larger. So how do you think the Dodgers should handle this situation? And do you believe MLB needs to step in publicly here? Let me know on YouTube or hit me up on social media. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about the start of the Dodgers' first series of the year against the Padres. Travis, I'm so ready for this one. I was so ready for it since opening day.
Yeah, it's good check-in. It's a good litmus test. We saw him play the Braves about a week or so ago. It didn't go great. This is another good team that they're going to go battle. Obviously, the division lead is hanging in the balance, whatever that means in the middle of May. Not much, but it's still kind of fun. And the Padres Dodgers is always a little chippy. It's always fun when it's down at Petco because there's a ton of Dodger fans down in Petco, myself included frequently. I love going down there and wearing my Dodger gear. It's always a really good time, but it should be a great series. I'm looking forward to it too.
I'll say this, Fernando Tatis Jr. better not hit his first home run of the season.
Yeah, right.
Against the Dodgers. It wouldn't surprise me if he does, because he loves playing against the Dodgers, but it's crazy that it's May 17th and he's still waiting to hit his first home run.
And he's been playing. Yeah, it's not like he's only played. He's played the first month and change. Yeah, it is a really weird statistical anomaly, but look, that dude's real good. He's going to come out of it eventually, and hopefully not in the next 3 days.
I had to recheck. They played Sunday Night Baseball, 0 RBIs. So that means he didn't hit a home run today. They won 8-3. So the Dodgers are going in only with a half a game lead. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Travis and I appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.